if Illinois doesn't take care of its oil and gas well problem, it's going to wind up having to bear over $1 billion of cleanup costs that should have been borne by the oil companies themselves. That means taxpayer money is going to go towards cleanup, and the industry will have effectively stolen $1 billion of subsidy from the people of Illinois. And so when the state is thinking about the amount of money it's going to have to put towards cleanup, it's looking at that much smaller orphan well number. However, the active wells are producing, on average, extremely low amounts of oil and gas, such that we think that it is very likely, and our report shows it is very likely, that many of those wells are not going to be able to produce enough oil and gas to cover the cost of their own closure, and are very likely to wind up in the orphan well program as well eventually, which means that the cost will fall on the state. And so the amount that is owed by the state for these closures, for the cleanup, is likely several times higher than the amount it will cost just to close the ones that are currently in the orphan well program. Wells that are not plugged have several different risks associated with them. They leak a lot of different pollutants that can harm air quality and harm water quality, can create real problems with your local water source. Some of the chemicals and sort of pollutants that they emit can be carcinogenic. They emit quite a bit of methane as well, which is a sort of climate super pollutant, several times more warming potential than carbon dioxide in the near and medium term. The other thing that you should keep in mind when thinking about old wells that are not properly plugged is that they can actually cause explosions because there's a lot of the methane gas can gather in them. There was a case in Colorado a few years ago where a failure to properly clean led to an explosion under a house and killed people. At ClientEarth, we've been looking into problems with old wells and well decommissioning, well closure across the country. It's a huge problem across the country. Oil and gas operators are annually shirking billions of dollars of cleanup costs by delaying cleanup or figuring out ways to dump it onto state orphan programs. We became interested in Illinois because it has quite a few wells, and the average age of those wells is older, and the average production level is quite low. All of those factors led us to think, there's a lot of things going to have to happen here soon. Let's see if you're seeing the same kinds of problems with abandonment of wells or orphaning of wells that you're seeing in other states. As we started looking into it, we learned that the state is doing a very poor job of collecting the data necessary to even understand the full scale of the problem. It also has a number of regulatory authorities that it's not fully using to be able to address the problem now, which is allowing it to grow bigger and bigger, sort of underneath the state's nose. And it also has some gaps in its regulations, which hopefully an active state legislature will be able to address to ensure that it has the tools necessary to avoid dumping $1 billion plus surprise bill on the taxpayers, or leaving the folks who live downstate where there's a lot of the drilling with years and years of polluting wells, just harming their land and their home.